As many Appalachian Trail enthusiasts know, Earl Schaefer made the first through hike of the AT in 1948. He wrote this detailed account of the trip, published by the AT Conservancy. Not only was Schaefer the first through hiker, he also was the first through hiker to send gear home to lighten his pack weight. Early in his trip, he sent home a 7-pound military surplus tent that he said wasn't doing him much good anyway. Not only did he dispense with the tent, he wrote that he removed what he thought were needless features from his Army surplus pack to reduce weight. In the following decades, of course, thousands of other hikers have worked to keep pack weight under control, especially after ultralight gear became readily and widely available in the early 21st century. The use of ultralight backpacking gear is our topic, and we'll look at a number of questions. Why would someone choose ultralight gear? Does ultralight gear really help backpackers? Does it have disadvantages? How do we select ultralight gear? Like many of my other videos, this subject isn't going to mean that much if we are out only for a couple of days or if we don't walk very far. We'll use a particular case study to look at some of these questions, a case study that almost borders on a worst-case scenario. And that case study is me. For a few weeks in 2016, I didn't do any walking without these crutches or this walker. This was right after a surgery I had to repair an injury caused by a head-on car accident I've mentioned in several videos. I don't feel sorry for myself about the accident. In fact, I told my friends the wreck was probably a case of me getting punished for everything I ever got away with. That wreck did put a stop to my section hikes, and now I'm planning to section hike again. I never felt sorry for myself about the wreck, but I might feel sorry for myself when I return to the AT, specifically when I return to the AT's hills. I have walked hundreds of miles on those hills, I know them intimately, and now they have me worried. As I record this, the AT Conservancy website lists these numbers for the trail, links in the description. The ATC says the trail now covers 2,190 miles with about 464,500 feet in total elevation gain and loss. On the trail, if we climb 1,000 feet, we have to descend 1,000 feet sooner or later, and vice versa. If we grab a calculator, we see that for each mile on the AT, elevation gain and loss averages 212 feet. To put it another way, a 15-mile day on the AT is an average of 3,180 feet elevation. A 20-mile day on average AT terrain will total 4,240 feet. In another video, I showed a sign in the Shenandoah National Park that describes this formula for calculating the difficulty level of hiking different mileages and elevations. The formula multiplies the total elevation times mileage times 2 and then takes the square root. The sign gives examples and shows how different results vary from easy to very strenuous. But for that average 15-mile AT day, the formula yields a result of 308. For an average 20-mile day, it's 411. On average AT terrain, even a 5-mile walk has a difficulty rating of 103. I don't think the formula is designed to predict how any given individual will perform. Instead, I think it predicts how the walking experience varies over different elevations. My experience suggests the formula is more correct than incorrect. And as many AT hikers know, elevation changes in some areas are much bigger than in other areas. Because I walked with a limp for 2 years, suffered muscle atrophy, and got out of shape, the AT's hills now present me with a fairly grim challenge. On my first AT section hike, my pack base weight was 20 pounds and a full load was 35 pounds. On the rest of my hikes, the base weight was 11 pounds and the full load was 25 pounds or less 99% of the time. For me, a lighter pack indeed made a big difference, making the climbs easier and more pleasant. We say we hike the AT, but we easily might say we climb the AT. And now, to hike anything like I used to, I think I need a lot of training and an even lighter pack. So I set out to get my base weight down to 7 pounds if possible. The goal here is not to get anyone to imitate me. Instead, I am describing how I pretty much have been backed into a corner. In the description is a link to my summer gear list on the lighterpack.com website. I found this website a valuable tool in determining what all my gear weighs. It works like a spreadsheet, automatically calculating the total weight of all the items we type in. It also forces us to weigh every single item, which can be a real eye-opener. As the page shows, my new base weight is 7.5 pounds without food, water, fuel, etc. I should emphasize this list will accomplish all the tasks my old 11-pound pack handled. I never carried a portable electric charger in the 11-pound pack. If I carry one in the future, that will put me at about 8 pounds. My gear list is still fairly economical. There is no Cuban fiber because I don't have the spare money to buy any. Those who can afford it will be getting pretty lightweight gear. As I will explain in a minute, I also have a plan B that would put me back at 7 pounds without a charger. This entire process meant that some of my most favorite pieces of gear had to be replaced. Call me sentimental, but that is not something I liked. I did it because I believe I have no choice. My awesome homemade pyramid tent? Out. The sill shelter I also have used? Out. My titanium cup I've used for coffee that I like so much? Out. My little umbrella, which has been part of my layered rain system? Out. How about my rain poncho? Out. I would say the biggest step was replacing the tarp tents and poncho with something that would do both jobs. To do that, I bought a gatewood cape sold by 6 Moon Designs. It can be used as an enclosed shelter and double as a rain cape with a hood, which is bigger than a normal poncho. With this item, I replaced the pyramid tent and poncho, total weight 28 ounces, with a cape that weighs about 10 ounces. I'm at least slightly ashamed it weighs 10 ounces, because when I got it, it weighed 12. I removed pieces it came with and modified it. 6 Moon Designs put a lot of thought into this product. I'm sure it is an innovative design, and I was happy I could buy it. My only excuse is that I have been backpacking since I was 11 years old, and I have definite ideas about how I use gear. And in all honesty, I am confident virtually everyone else will use the cape exactly as it's sold. I did not hike in the rain with my umbrella. I would use it in camp. For example, if I went to a privy at night in the rain, or if I packed up in the morning in the rain. To replace the umbrella, I bought a disposable plastic poncho weighing 1.5 ounces. If I make coffee now, it will be with my titanium cookpot. I considered ditching the pot and carrying the cup instead, but the cup is too small for me to clean with the white plastic scraper I use for that job. I've always carried a t-shirt and a pair of convertible pants as spare clothes. I got a shock when I weighed them. The two of them together are 20 ounces. I replaced them with a Patagonia Capilene shirt and a pair of Montbell Dynamo wind pants. Total weight 5.3 ounces. Why do I carry spare clothes? When I was a kid, once or twice I ripped the hell out of my clothes while camping, and I've never trusted myself since. Also, I can put the extra stuff on if it gets cold. I will still carry a long sleeve fleece pullover and a fleece hat. They worked fine on my earlier section hikes when temperatures would fall to nearly 50 degrees Fahrenheit overnight, even in summer. I got another shock when I weighed my old plastic ground sheet, 5 ounces. I replaced it with a poly cryo sheet at 1.5 ounces. Like I said, I have a plan B that would bring the list without a charger to under 7 pounds. My list includes my old Ultralight Gust pack, 20 ounces. Even for 2017, that's pretty light for a pack that will hold 60 liters. On all but 2 of my section hikes, I used a cheap Coleman pad. It was 3/8 of an inch thick when new, and after a lot of use, it's still 1/4 of an inch thick. Very few people would even think of using one. For whatever reason, I can use one with no problem, even on the wooden boards in a shelter. Cut to 20 inches wide and 3/4 length, the pad weighs 6 ounces. Yet, I also have a 13-ounce pack that could hold about 35 liters capacity. And I have a Gossamer Gear Thin Light pad, 1/8 of an inch thick, 2.8 ounces. These two would save me 10 ounces over the Gust and the Coleman pad. I won't be considered completely healed from my surgery for another 3 months. After that, I plan some day hiking in the Blue Ridge Mountains. If my confidence is shaky after that, I'll make do with a little pack and thin pad. Using lighterpack.com was an exercise to compare my old pack weight with the new. There is still the issue of my fanny pack, which weighs about 10 ounces empty. With luck, I'll find a lighter replacement. If anyone thinks my new gear list is pretty grim, I understand completely and sort of agree. But there are several things to keep in mind. Those who keep walking on the AT do whatever they have to do to keep walking. I have seen another hiker eat cake frosting from a can, and I've been around hikers who smelled so bad they could knock a mule unconscious if any mule was unlucky enough to be nearby. Many hikers experience the niceties of civilization only when they go to a town. In another video, I showed the AT gear list of Heather Anderson, and it was under 10 pounds. She set fastest known times on the Pacific Crest Trail and the AT, and more recently the Arizona Trail. She averaged about 40 miles a day on the AT. More than a few others who cover high mileages in a day have gear lists even lighter than Anderson's. In another video, I showed this gear list I used when I was 14 years old. Both this list and my new list are similar in that they will get done what needs to get done. It's modern materials that make my new list so light. This stuff was old school and weighed 25 pounds. When it was my turn to carry the tent, it was 31 pounds. Which brings us to this chart, which I have shown repeatedly. We absolutely must make sure we can accomplish everything on this list. We take real risks if we leave behind any gear we would need to guarantee we can accomplish these things. Every gear list I've ever used followed these rules, including my new one. We need to know about the environment and conditions we will be in. We must be prepared for the worst weather we could conceivably encounter. I could use my new gear list in winter if I added the cold weather clothing I discussed in another video. I also could buy a 20-degree down quilt that would be about as light as my 35-degree sleeping bag, and use a full-length sleeping pad. As I have said earlier, I always consider gear selection to be a first-class pain in the neck. It can be even more confusing if we have never been backpacking before. If a brand new backpacker is carrying a ton of stuff, many will learn fast and start making changes quickly. At the southern end of the AT are people who will give thru hikers a gear shakedown, suggesting things the hiker can live without. And after covering the first 30 miles or so, I would expect many new hikers will welcome suggestions. Like I said, I selected my new stuff because I am worried. Those who are quite strong might not be worried at all. And lastly, the final disclaimer. Even if we carry ultralight gear, it might not guarantee anything on a place like the AT for me or anyone else. We have to stay free of injury and sickness. We have to have some kind of love for what we are doing. It also helps to be stubborn. And now, we're once again done. A big thanks to my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please consider it. And as always, thanks a million for watching.